kids.
We were young.
We were kids, excited about God's call in ministry
We
and
were.
God's call in our life. Knew that we had been called to, preach the gospel and lead others. And we had been traveling for the college where I was on staff for 4 summers in a row. We traveled with singing teams, and we went to California every summer. And so we actually thought that Southern California would be a place where God was calling us to go and start a church. So we went out after tour, went right back out there, visited for 10 days, did demographic work, came back and really thought, hey, we're going to move to Southern California and start a church. It was like we put everything in the fire to make a great bonfire, and God never lit the match. And then, like God does, sometimes he just surprises you. We're going down I-95, and literally out of the blue, one of the most spur-of-the-moment things I've ever said in my life is, Denise was driving, I'm like, hey, get off the next exit. And my reasoning was, I'd heard Palm Coast was a growing community. We were an hour north of there. And so I'm like, get off, let's check it out, because God didn't light the match on, igniting that whole thing of us going to Southern California. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's closer. Maybe we're supposed to be in Florida instead of California. And so we pulled off that day. But we didn't have a whole lot of money. We didn't really have any money.
Well, and nobody was starting churches back in those days. There was
Yeah.
no such thing as a team or raising funds before you go. I remember probably 10, 12 years later after we started the church, we were sitting in a church planning conference, and I remember them talking about this parachute launch, and I looked at Greg, I said, what's that? He's like, that's what we did.
Yeah,
I'm
it's like, they were recommending, don't just drop into town with a parachute and try and start it from, carve it out of a rock. Church planting was a brutal experience. It was beautiful and it was brutal. And there were so many blessings that we could go back to, like a guy who wrote a check for our first year's rent in a movie theater out of nowhere. That's a beautiful thing. We're 4 weeks into our facility and we're recognizing it's not working and we're going to have to rent another facility. People would ask us 3 and 4 and 5 years in, like, hey, how do you start a church? And I'm like, you know what? I really don't know, but I can tell you what not to do, because I have a lot of that to share. But God was faithful through the entire process.
I remember a phrase that marked us, and it was, the will of God will never lead you where the grace of God can't keep you. And that really just became what we were searching for. We knew that no matter where God was leading us, whatever door he would open, that his grace would be enough to sustain us.
Part of being here today and part of being in the auditorium that we're now going to worship in, God had to do something 25 years ago to make this moment. And so whatever God needs to do in your life, he may be working that story for decades to bring it to its grand opening, to bring it to its celebration point. Now at the age of 53, I want to really, really believe that this is the only church that I will ever be on staff at, and this is the only church that I will ever pastor. For God to graciously allow us to come here and be here so long, and to yet have runway in front of us for still some time is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Tonight, deepening crisis. Florida shatters the one-day U.S. record for new coronavirus cases. The virus reaches a tipping point.
One thing that the church had to deal with was this kick in the shins from COVID, right? Man, what a wild ride for the church. We were doing phenomenal. We were at our best spot in ministry ever before COVID.
We're planning on building a new building, a new worship center.
So then we shut down, and when we reopened, we're half what we used to be. Cases go up, attendance goes down.
Yeah.
Our attendance, once we reopened, our attendance went down every week for like 8 weeks. But I will say this, our people were amazingly, incredibly generous.
They were.
So in the midst of the pandemic, 2020 was our best financial year ever. There was PPP money.
Yeah.
And churches were recipients of that.
That's right.
And so what was crazy is I don't know of any other church in America that did this. We received the money, and a few months later, we sent it back. And I just felt like, you know what? Our people have been faithful. And it wasn't that I was trying to be a better than thou. In fact, I don't even know that we've ever even said that publicly.
No, I don't think so.
We sent back $86,000 to the government. Well, and it also created tremendous outreach opportunities for us. We served our city in ways.
Yeah. We never thought, that were never even on our radar before.
Yeah. I mean, we were bringing in tractor trailer loads of
Yeah.
food. It was a scary time for people because there was a ton of uncertainty around it.
And when there's that much uncertainty, to be able to take those moments and to let them know that you can find certainty in the gospel, it was just a blessing to watch our church family do that and to literally, be the hands and feet of Jesus.
Here's one thing that I've learned in 26 years of pastoring Parkview. When healthy communities reach tough times, those tough times will galvanize that healthy community. A central part of my job description is to keep us externally focused, because by nature, we become internally focused. If your church were to close its doors, would your city miss you? And as a community, we're gonna love on each other, we're gonna care for each other. And it's not that we do it perfectly, but our church does it beautifully. It's not hard to love this city. And it's not hard to love these people. If you ask me in 2024, what are you most thankful for in this current season of ministry? I would say to you, I am thankful for the reputation of Parkview in this city. I can't get over the way that our people have become such an influence, that they love, they serve, they give. Like I talked to a lady this weekend, she's like, Pastor, everybody in this town knows about Parkview. And I attribute that to the caliber and the quality of people that God has sent our way.
And we have people that'll tell us, we ask them, how'd you find out about Parkview? And they're like, well, we were just asking our neighbors. They don't go to church anywhere, but they said, if you're gonna go to church anywhere, go to Parkview,
That's my favorite thing. People that don't go here invite people to come here. Like, how crazy is that? I would have never imagined that could become a part of our story. So much of our story is nothing more than a God story. And so literally, if you said to me, hey, how'd you guys plant, Parkview LPGA that became Redemption City just recently? God, Redemption City is just a rebirth of Parkview. To me, it's us all over again, but on steroids. Like, they are so much further ahead, at this stage of the game than we were.
And then being able to come back to your church family and give them something that puts them on mission to share the gospel and to multiply what God had done here in their lives in a different area. That it's a beautiful thing to continue to watch.
I guess every story has highlights. Certainly today's a highlight day. Certainly this season is a highlight season as we move into our new auditorium. Pastor Derek's been with us 16 years. We were talking about building when he got here. It's God's timing. And so here we sit in a brand new facility that is breathtaking and mind-boggling in so many ways.
And it's not about a new building, even though a new building is a great tool that God gives us. He gives it to us to reach new opportunities. And those new opportunities bring new people and new faces and new stories. New opportunities for people to come and hear the truth of God's word and the transformative message of the gospel. And that is the new day and the new opportunity that we sit in right now.
And as long as we are hearing about stories of life change, we know as a gospel community that we are being successful. And we're carrying out the mission that God has given us for many years of guiding people to life change in Jesus Christ. And so for us, this building is just about more stories. Beautiful stories. Stories of transformation. Stories of renewal. Stories of redemption. Stories of addictions that break. Marriages that are restored. Prodigals that come home. Finances that find freedom.
I think about it, it's those stories that we will remember. We will remember what God has done. We will remember. It's a mark on us that it leaves us. It's those stones of remembrance that we'll be able to pass down to generations to show them what God did here in His church in Palm Coast.
I think one of the things that's important for us to consider is while we're 26 years in and we have a brand new facility, and this is the 5th time that we've built, I promise you, we're just getting started. And that's what's exciting to me. This is like just a reinvigorated moment in our story, and the best is absolutely yet to come. God is God's doing things in this church and in this city. And I'm thankful to be a part of not just what's happened and what's happening, but I'm thankful to be a part of what's going to happen.